Hi, guys. This is the Work Your Money podcast with host Michelle Wong. Unfortunately, my co-host Willie Morales and Marcus Renton is not here, but I am going to have the podcast all to myself. I'm very excited, and I have a great guest on. His name is Stephen T. Rosenberg. He is the CEO of Green Purpose. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing green. How are you, Michelle?
That's cute. Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm CEO of Green Purpose. That's really where a lot of my fundamental passion comes from, is being an eco-capitalist and helping large businesses strive for zero waste. I also own a company called Influencer Media, where we help different micro-influencers online on platforms like Instagram help build their social media. It actually started from absolutely nothing. People used to laugh at me and say that was a joke, it would never be successful, all of these different things. And, it started on U of I campus, where you would see all these students move out and then everyone would throw all this stuff away. And so I would notice that there's brand new stuff that these kids are throwing away, and you could reuse or sell that material. So I started taking stuff that people would throw away and reselling it on eBay. And then from there, I, wrote a couple business plans and got involved in a business plan contest, was able to win that. And then also, for me, what it came down to and how I really knew that it was going to be an effective business was when I figured out, I took this one electronic piece out of a dumpster and I turned around and sold it the next day on eBay for, I think, $1,200. And that's when I really got serious about it. And then was involved in a business boot camp through the U of I's entrepreneurial leadership through Enterprise Works, and was one of the last businesses standing. So was awarded office space there. Started growing the company. Then we moved out of there into a facility. That's when I got involved in the recycling industry. Within 3 years, I think, then we outgrew that facility, tripled our space, and then started working with different, larger corporations, manufacturers, distribution centers. That's really how it got started.
You started from scratch. You started from nothing and built a company, an empire from that, and a lot of respect for that.
You have to follow your heart.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. For me, I've always been my own person, the type of kid that just did my own thing. And you're always going to have those people that are going to talk negatively. And usually the ones that are talking a lot of nonsense and a lot of smack are usually the ones that are not going out and doing anything. So I don't take value to what they say. I only take value to the ones that actually went out and did it. And if they're trying to, maybe that they're trying to give it advice, but maybe the delivery might be a little off, I might take it into consideration. I'll put it in the back of my mind, and I still go forward and just pursue whatever my interests are, my passion. I let my success just be the action. And that's what you're doing. And I really do give you a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, so I totally agree with what you're saying. I think there's two different type of people that are skeptics. It's the people that, just are the haters, and then there's the people that want to see you succeed but have experience. Mm-hmm. So I think it all comes down to their intent. Mm-hmm. If your intent is in the right place, great. Mm-hmm. Then those are the people that I choose to listen to, mm-hmm. That want to help mentor or, give good advice. Mm-hmm. But then I think that's very different than the people that actually are just, stagnant or miserable in their own lives or whatever it is. But just the naysayers, you have to block that out. Mm-hmm. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Stephen, in regards to your business, because we're right now we're in the day and age that people are now starting to awaken in a sense of being more green, more eco-friendly. What is your take on that? Like, I know that in Europe they were a few years ahead of us when it came to that, because now they have like the solar panels and they have like other things that are green, and they're being more conscious of that. Like, what is your take on that here? Here in the U.S. Because
Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to answer this, and I don't know why, Michelle, but I'm going to go on the record here with you today and really not hold back previously the way I feel like I have, and try to be really politically correct and all of these things. But it's because I really realize that there is a huge problem, and it's something that I think is really smart from a business perspective, okay? And so what my number one goal is to educate the audience on how closely related business is to doing all these different things that you're talking about. Now, obviously, just to be clear, my expertise is in waste and recycling and social media, things of that nature. Now, obviously, I know all about solar. I know all about, these other things, but I'm no expert in them. So I just want to make sure that, I don't mislead anybody. But I think eco-capitalism is something that is really important, and something that I can speak to, especially for the business people, because what eco-capitalism is it's doing the right thing, but also being practical about doing it. So everybody, businesses and people, are incentivized by money, right? And so you have two different extremes, but I think that there's a middle ground. And as businesses in America start to see more of the benefits of being able to, let's say, go towards zero waste, you're going to see a shift in the culture with people changing their habits as well. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of make sense where I'm...
No, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. And I'm not an expert either. But and I'm just stating an opinion from an observation that I see. I see people...
You're 100% right. Europe is way ahead of us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean...
No, that's okay.
You're 100% on point. No, you're 100% on point. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I just feel that now that for us in the U.S., see that Europe is ahead of us in the whole eco-friendly game. I think that we're going to be following suit. It is following suit now. I do see that here in New York, as an example, I do see for new construction that of real estate, I see that they're implementing the whole green and eco-friendly and sustainable material, and they're implementing that, and they're also passed a few laws where they have to have certain portions as part of the requirement. The older buildings are now they're having a transition as well with the materials that are being used, and they're substituting it for more eco-friendly material. Mm-hmm. So it seems like... Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's one thing that I was actually going to, I guess ask you about, because you're in real estate and all that stuff. And so I kind of look at it as two sides. There's the eco-friendly products, which, let's be honest, are more expensive. But also what I think of when I hear about new construction is the waste. So if you're involved in that, you're paying money every year for dumpsters, right? Or to haul things up to a landfill. I mean, that stuff is not cheap, and it really adds up over time. I mean, maybe not one or two. I mean, I don't know what it is in New York. Probably a 40-yard dumpster is anywhere from $500 to $800, I would guess. So if you're more conscious about, the type of materials that you're throwing away and find alternative ways to get those out of a landfill and put them to other use, you can save yourself a ton of money in new construction. That's all I was saying.
Oh, okay.
But continue.
No. That's, I never thought of that. I've never thought of it in that perspective. But yeah, you do have a valid point. Stephen, I wanted to ask you in regard, because you also have a media company. Can you share with us your company and what you do and what, any projects that you have coming up?
Yeah, sure. So Influencer Media is a company that I started more recently, and what I'm really focused on is helping sort of the micro influencers connect with the brands that they already love, and find a way to bring those two together for a mutually beneficial relationship, so that those people that are really religious about their products already can continue doing that, and the brands can actually see value. So to give you a real world example, instead of having someone, I'm just going to go extreme here, and for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm very I go extreme, so just stay with me for a second. But instead of going to someone like, we'll say, Kim Kardashian and paying her $2 million to tweet or Instagram about your product for one single post, that's a real thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, what I focus on is bringing together 10 or 20 micro influencers, people that have 50,000 followers or less, and bring 10 or 20 of those individuals to a brand and say, these people are using your brand's product already. I mean, I've vetted them out, because one thing I believe very strongly in is authenticity. And I think that's really, really important. I'm not interested in working with someone that will fake liking a product for some kind of incentive. I only want people that are already religious about a brand's product, and then I try to help find ways for them to work together.
In regards to being authentic, I'm with you 100%. Overall, I guess in any type of business that you have, when you're partnering with someone or you're doing a venture or collaboration or whatever the case may be, you have to know what the other company or the other individual, what their brand is, what they represent, and you have to understand it. And enjoy whatever the product or service it is that they have, in order for it to work well. And I've seen in the industry, and this is not just, overall in general, I've seen this. I've seen people work together and everything else, but it's always like a benefit factor. It's what am I getting out of it, as to what are you getting out of it, as to me getting something out of it. Make it more of a win-win situation, that that the other person is getting whatever the value is from that, that project, partnership, collaboration, whatever. And how can you go into, working with someone or endorsing a product or whatever the case is, and not try it or like it? And some people do that. I've seen some people just do it because they feel like they're going to get something out of it, or they're going to get paid X amount of dollars or anything like that. And my whole thing is that that's kind of like a total lie. If you're doing that, you have to show that you enjoy that product, or you enjoy that particular service. And I don't. For me, I'm not big like the Kardashians or any other public figure, but I can't see myself just being fake. I have to be 100% real. If I don't like something, I don't like it. If it doesn't work well, I don't want that person to feel bad about it. It's not for me. It might be for someone else. But if I do enjoy the product, I I'm very vocal about it, and I let people know, hey, I work with this person, and these are the services that they provided for me, or I tried this product, and this product is really good. So I would do that happily if I know that this is something that I truly enjoy. So yeah, I totally get that. I mean, why would you want someone that is going to be working with you and that person doesn't believe in the product or the service that you're providing?
Well, yeah, and again, the industry is changing so quickly. With social media now, I think the game is so different now than it ever has been, and I think it's going to continue to change more rapidly than it has. I mean, if you think about it, the iPhone itself has only been out a little more than 10 years. And I think the speed at which technology is really starting to advance is changing the entire landscape. And through that, you have all these different people on the internet, and everybody has an opinion, and everybody has this and that and all these other things. So it's really hard, or much harder, to figure out who is being authentic and who is playing the role that they want people to perceive. And that's a really it's a nonstop thing. But I also feel that you can really sense people that aren't authentic. Like, people's bullshit detectors are on high alert. Sorry, I don't know if we can say that on here, but
No, listen, it's an open forum, so you are free to say whatever is on your mind. I don't hold anybody back, so you can say bullshit, just to clarify. So it's fine.
Just check. So, what are some of the things that you deal with now, with the real estate, and how have you noticed social media to change that landscape? I'm sure that's changed it quite a bit, or just technology in general.
Well, for me, social media has helped in a sense with making connections with people. The only drawback is that I make a lot of connections with people. That's positive. That's a good thing. But it's like you said, the authentic people, that is the negative drawback. And what I mean by that is that everybody is very equipped to say, hey, I want to work with you and all of that. But when it comes to actually going forth on a deal or going forth on working on a project, it's an excuse after an excuse after an excuse. And that's been the issue, the highlight that we've been having. Both Willie, my co-host, and my business partner, he has a company called One Will Properties. I'm partnered with him on in that company.
Okay.
And he's a little more reserved when it comes to social media. He posts things here and there. I'm a little bit more outgoing when it comes to it. But I keep myself 100% real. If I am encouraging people, or if I am, trying to help other people, is because I want to. I don't have to, but I want to. That's just my personality. That's just who I am. And I have no problems doing that. I enjoy what I do. But the factor is that I make these connections with people. They're like, oh, okay, let's do this and this. When it comes down to the wire, they kind of retract. They don't want to do anything, or they just, it's like you said, they give you a line of bullshit. And when it comes to really taking action, they're not doing it. And that has been a little bit of the frustrating factor. He gets a little bit annoyed with it, and he's kind of like, in time, in the past year, he just kind of like evolved and said, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing. And I'm the same way. It's like, okay, this is not working out. I move on, and I try to connect with someone else that has better synergy, and I know that their actions are going to be more effective, that they were actually, going out and doing what they said they're going to do. So that's kind of like my factor. maybe the little minor factor would be people that are going to have opinions, or they're going to, like the quote unquote the haters. They might say certain things. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" But I get that very rarely. I think that's one of my major factors, is just dealing with people, and they say that they're going to do something and then they don't go through with it. And when it comes to a particular deal or project that we're working on.
Well, it's so much easier to disappear now, and people are not wanting to have human interactions as much as they used to. It's all about, send me an email or send me a text. Nobody wants to meet in person. All these different things. And again, I don't think we've fully figured out as a society whether this is going to be, really bad or really good. The one thing I try to pay attention to more than anything is that it's happening. So whether I like it or not, or whether you like it or not, or whatever, it's happening. And I don't think it's going to go back the other way. Technology is going to continue to, wedge itself in our everyday lives. And so how do you then navigate that by doing it the right, keeping those morals and values that you have as a person, but also adapting to the current times? Because you don't want to completely disregard it, because then you're going to be, the newspaper industry, right? Or Blockbuster, we'll say.
So
I just think, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking something, in like when you're having great points of view, do you think that this is like a status thing when it comes to social media? Like, what I mean by that is going back to the whole being authentic on social media. Do you think that the people just do it for status? They just do it to get a little bit of the attention, but not kind of like really, putting themselves out there and reflecting who they really are as an individual, kind of giving like a persona?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I don't think there's a clear-cut answer, but I know exactly what you mean. And I think what you mean is, people that are staging their lives in the sense of, you go on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever you go, whichever major platform, and people project themselves as who I think they want to be, as opposed to who they actually are. It breaks my heart seeing friends on Facebook that, maybe you go a couple months without talking to, and you see a couple months as, their Facebook posts go through your stream, how happy they are, how every, thing is great and wonderful and perfect, and then you get on the phone with them and catch up with them, and then you realize they're miserable as fuck. And, it's really crazy to me how much that is affecting society, because then it puts people in a way where they feel like they have to be perfect. They're using that as sort of their self-esteem compass. That's something I've never been accustomed to, except for more recently, as we all try to figure out this social media thing. But I thought one interesting talk was by Simon Sinek, where I feel like he really nailed the millennial generation and how it's really starting to become affected by this social media thing, because people like you and myself, or I guess I shouldn't speak for you, but for myself, half of my life was spent without any technology or internet, and then the other half was watching, what's happened the last 15 years, right? And so I think that's very interesting, but for younger people, they don't know what it's like to live without Facebook or social media or anything like that. And that's crazy, right?
Yeah, no, it is crazy. It is crazy. Last week I unveiled my age. My birthday was last week. I'm 38. So I was... Thank you.
You're fine. You're fine. fine. You look 30, so don't even worry about it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. but I'm very proud of my age. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When I was a kid, even as a teenager, this is before this whole social media boom came into place. You know, you can basically engage with people. I remember when you were out with your friends, you were engaging in conversations, meeting with them, and enjoying yourself, and you're not glued to the phone. I remember, back in the day, we didn't have like the cell phones and all this other stuff. To me, I think it was a happier time. People were, more happier, even though we didn't have the technology or anything like that. I just felt like it was an era where, people were more socially, progressive. They were more engaging. People were more happier. It was more liberating. Now it's what's your status? You have to compete with the other people around you as to what you're doing if you're traveling, or what's the latest thing that you're, if you have a business, what are you up to business wise, and all this other stuff. And then you're absolutely right. I have friends that they post all these things, they give this persona, they give this mirage of, having this perfect life. And then they're telling me on the side that they're having all of these personal issues going down. And my whole thing is that, why are you pretending? Just be yourself. For me, if I'm posting something, if I'm not happy, I post it. I'm not happy, but I'm not going to go into detail with people. Hey, give a list of all the things that are going down. I'm not going to do that. But if I'm feeling a certain way, I am true to how I feel. So if I'm not happy, I'm going to post it. I'm not happy. I put it in face value. I don't go and pretend something I'm not. It's just, I don't understand why people tend to do that. I think I would connect more or understand more if an individual, if they're feeling a certain way, one day, and then they're feeling happy the next. I can understand that, because we're human. We're not programmed to be happy 100% all the time. But it's understandable that you might have your days that you're not going to be feeling the greatest. But I would understand that. It's just one of those things that I find it interesting, I would say is the term, because I see how like this people have these statuses on social media, and it just baffles me sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could have 6 podcasts specifically just about this topic, and there's so many different directions that you can go and do, but the bottom line thing that I focus on every day is that it's here, technology is here, it's continuing to get more and more relevant in our everyday lives, and what my number one job is now, both with Green Purpose and Influencer Media, is how can I take all of my knowledge and doing the consulting that I do for businesses with their zero waste, and then incorporate that into, social media. How can I utilize social media in this new world, quote unquote, to do good and help provide people a platform to do the right thing and be more green or eco-conscious or things of that nature. I mean, that's something that I think is really interesting, because social media, we know, can change people's entire way of acting and doing things, right?
No, I totally agree. So, I totally agree with that.
So if you can provide them a platform to really pat themselves on the back for recycling that can or that plastic bottle or whatever it is, and make money doing it, then I think that we could really see a big scale change with doing good things. And obviously I'm focusing on recycling and being more eco-conscious because that's my industry.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a million industries that you could also take that same concept and implement it with.
No, well, I like that you have a business that is implementing the whole, recycling and being eco-friendly, green, sustainable, and all of that, because we're due for it. We've been very dormant in the past few years with that, and I think that this is great that you're awakening that and making people more aware and more conscious of that.
Yeah, but nobody wants to talk about it. That's one thing that's really frustrating for me is that it's like everyone thinks they care, but when it comes to, if it's inconvenient, people as a society, I'm not pointing my finger at anybody, it's just as a whole, we're lazy. And so if it's inconvenient and there's not a direct incentive or benefit to us, we're not going to do it. Or at least statistically speaking, we have not done it so far. I mean, if you go, when you leave today and look in the dumpsters in the back alley, you will see there's something that's posted on a company's corporate website on their sustainability page versus what they're actually doing, right?
Yeah, no, and that's true.
You have no idea what you can learn about a person by just looking at their trash. It's especially from a business level. If you go, you can learn more about a business through their waste than you can in a lot of different ways. And that's what it's so weird to people. I'm the Steve Jobs of recycling is sort of my nickname in the community because of how differently I think about this stuff, because I think I've come into it differently than everybody else. Most people in the recycling industry have been in the recycling industry for 20 plus years or 40 plus years or multiple generations and all these things, and then there's this new kid that comes in and sort of figures out a completely different approach and is able to dominate like that. I mean, I went from, studying dumpsters and businesses' waste streams to working with Fortune 500 companies. So I think it's something that is changing, and I'm very focused on how to connect the dots, to utilize these new tools like social media to create change or incentive in people so they actually start being more conscious of their waste.
You know what? And you have a valid point. I agree 100%. For me, I do a lot of recycling. I'm baffled, especially here in New York City. You walk around and you see the garbage and all this other stuff that on the sidewalks, even in, like you said, in for instance, like the restaurants, they have they have their dumpsters on the side. You have the businesses, they have their dumpsters on the side, and they don't look for ways to recycle. They just leave it on the side. And to me, I just feel that people have to be more aware of our environment, because if we don't act on it now, our environment is going to keep getting worse, and it's just going to affect the planet overall. And they don't seem to realize that. If you catch it now and be more aware of it, be more conscious of it, and take action, then we can have a better future, not just for ourselves, but for the next generation and the next generation after that. They have to look at the bigger picture. And, I really do agree with you 100% on that. And you're right. The people are lazy. They they don't care. They, there's a small percentage that do care, and then you have the bigger percentage that they don't. They're not conscious of what the aftermath is going to be, what the consequences are going to be. They're not going to be affecting us per se. It might have, it would affect eventually the other generations to come after us.
Right. And I try not, to be honest though, like, I try not to be hard on people because as humans, we are so ingrained to do things that are more efficient and be more beneficial for us and what is in it for us, and how can we evolve as a species to like further ourselves. And so I get it. I mean, I understand definitely that it's an inconvenience and it's all these things. And in an ideal world, yes, people would be selfless and do these things for reasons that are obvious, but you also have to be really practical and realistic. And what I'm trying to do is reverse engineer the side of that says, okay, what can I do that really does make people feel good, like in a way that they really want to do it? And I think that's how we're going to be able to create a bigger change. But I'd love to hear what your perspective is. How do we make that kind of change in New York as a city versus, right?
Yeah, no, that's a very challenging question.
So do you think it would be money that would incentivize you as a person? And when I say you, just to be clear, I don't mean you specifically, just you as in a human in America.
You know what? My whole take is that New York, we have to set it's all set by example. I think that if they see someone of a higher level, maybe a public figure or whomever, kind of being the spokesperson or being the role model of saying, hey, we have to be more green. Like someone like I'll give you an example. Leonardo DiCaprio is one. He's he is an advocate in regards to being more eco-friendly. He has a car that's
Does he spend time?
I'm sorry?
Does he spend time in New York?
I believe he has he has
property there?
He has property in New York. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, like, I think that we as Americans, or especially as New Yorkers, you're so competitive. Why don't we make it a competition? Break up the city into different components or different sections, and then whoever has the highest recycling rates, or vice versa, the highest trash rate, and like have them compete against each other to see who can recycle the most tonnage in the course of 6 months or a year or something of that nature, and then whoever wins gets some kind of trophy or benefit or prize, or their neighborhood gets an upgrade, or money or something like that. But I think a competition could really do a lot of good. And I think, Leonardo DiCaprio has done a phenomenal job of being an advocate of someone that is very forward-thinking and is hip to where he has millions of people's attention with everything that he does and says. And I think that his intent is in the right place.
I totally agree. And he, he's an advocate and all of that. And I just became aware of it in the past couple of years.
I recently, on my podcast, The Eco-Capitalist, had the inventor of the lithium-ion battery on.
Yeah.
94-year-old guy. It was incredible hearing his life story.
Yeah.
Having someone like Leo, I would love to know what it would take to get someone like Leo's attention to help build some kind of social media campaign around something along this nature. One thing that Green Purpose did was a national competition called the Race for Zero Waste.
Yes.
Where we got, 5 different really big corporations to compete against each other for 6 months, from America Recycle Day to Earth Day. And we graded each one of these companies based on different statistics. And it was phenomenal to see all of these big corporations compete against each other, but doing it in a way where it's good for the environment. They put all of the real business stuff aside and said, listen, this is one, kind of really good thing that we should all do together to set the tone. Rockwell Automation and Kraft Foods were the winners of the first one, and the Libman Company was the winners of the second one. And not to disregard there was a lot of other businesses involved, and it was just incredible to see all of them kind of come together and compete in a friendly way. What I would love to know is, how do we do that from a society standpoint, from a people standpoint, on an individual level, instead of just corporations?
No, listen, that sounds like a really interesting project. Not interesting overall, but I would love to see it go through. My God. And you're right. I would love to see how we can get Leonardo DiCaprio to do this. That would be awesome. That would be awesome if you can get him on board and do that and represent, because he's so passionate.
He's one of the most authentic actors. He's one of those actors, I believe this is correct, he doesn't do drugs.
Yes.
He's exposed to it in a negative way as a child. And so, he's one of those he's an authentic guy. Every role that he does, he gets he's a master craftsman, but he's 100% authentic at what he does. And so, like you said, he's been doing this and advocating for this since he was such a young person, and to see him persevere and look how much change he's made. But I think he's just scratching the surface, Michelle. I think we need to figure out how to get Leo on our team.
There you have it, guys.
What is it going to take, Leo? What do we have to do?
Steven, for our listeners out there, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, you can find me personally at Steve T. Rosenberg, but mygreenpurpose.com if you want to see Green Purpose and what I built there. I guess my closing thoughts is I would love, how we can change the world if we got Leonardo DiCaprio, Elon Musk, Gary Vee, you, and myself into one room. And that's what I want to figure out.
Listen, I'll try to do what I can to make this happen. If I have to knock on Leonardo DiCaprio's place and be like, listen, I need to talk to you for a second. I really think that you should really get involved with this. I would love to get involved in that. So for everyone out there, anybody wants to reach us, you can go to iTunes and Stitcher, YouTube. That would be Work Your Money Podcast. You want to listen in to hear Steven Rosenberg's episode and interview, just go to iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Okay, guys, until the next time, this is the Work Your Money Podcast. Steve, thank you so much for being on our show. Until the next time, bye.